have intended to go and visit them.
Thank you.
Senator Natale.
Thanks very much. Most of my questions around the Gambling Research Centre were asked by Senator Xenophon. Did you say the expert advisory group had been announced?
Yes, last week.
Okay. Could perhaps just on notice provide me with the names of the people? Or is that
it might be on the
public?
APES website.
Oh, good.
Terrific.
I'll check that. Thank you. And just a few questions about the trial. So my understanding is that while the clubs in the ACT have said that they're not going to proceed with the trial before the election, they're still engaged in preparations for the trial.
Yep.
Can you outline what preparations are going on at the moment?
Certainly. So, Senator, we have been to the market to the open market for two pieces of work. One is around, we talk about in terms of optimum trial design, so trying to think about it and be ahead of the game for an ACT trial, around what an optimum trial of mandatory pre-commitment would look like. So looking at particular issues around limit setting, default limits, transaction statements, and a number of sort of technical aspects to mandatory pre-commitment. The second part of the preparatory work that we're doing is what an evaluation strategy would look like, looking into issues around the cross-border people moving and playing elsewhere. How would you look at all the elements of the trial in terms of being able to evaluate its success?
Just to explore that a little further, the design, you're sort of talking about the sort of design of the trial and the evaluation really are the two components. So just take me through what's actually being done in terms of the specific work around both of those issues.
Well, they're currently under contract now, so we haven't got the results of that work back yet.
Right.
But I think almost all of the contracts, I understand, have been signed or very close to signing, so they're currently being undertaken by various research bodies.
So we went to tender, Senator, for those two pieces of work. The tenders have now been let, and those pieces of work will be proceeding.
Being proceeded. And will that be public? Will the nature of the design and the evaluation...
Certainly once we have the material back, that'll be a decision for government about releasing those final reports. Okay,
so the answer to that is you don't know yet. Is that right? Fair enough.
That's right.
Okay, good. How much are we talking about? How much is...
I think it's 1.139 million in 12-13.
So it broke into 8 individual research projects.
8 individual research.
Yeah.
So that money's been spent?
No.
Being spent.
Being spent and contracts are being signed and...
Yep.
Correct.
Okay. And we're doing that in the event that the trial proceeds after the election. Essentially, we're doing that preparatory work, even though the clubs ACT have said we're not prepared to do anything until the election. Is that a fair representation?
It's right, but it also sets it in good stead that if at a future time anyone else around Australia is willing to do a trial, that preparatory work will have been done. So it will be, because it's looking at the optimum trial design and kind of what the key issues are. So it certainly sets it up for the ACT going forward, should that come available. But it also, we could use the same material if in the future somewhere else in Australia was willing.
I would have thought that most of there are a lot of factors that are very specific to the ACT.
Actually, Senator, not really. I mean, when you look at the actual trial design, it's looking at things like intelligent dynamic warnings. There's sort of 6 different aspects it's looking at. So they are about really those universal elements. And the idea too is not only could it be used in a potentially different jurisdiction, but also will help us inform the regulations that are currently being worked on. Because the regulations for the current Act, for the National Gambling Reform Act.
How do they relate to that?
Because aspects of voluntary pre-commitment and mandatory pre-commitment have crossovers. So things like dynamic warnings and self-exclusion, breaks in play are all aspects of voluntary pre-commitment systems as well.
So, I mean, are you suggesting that the work that's done there is going to be used as as has been designed through this process for the changes that will be made once the...
It will help inform the regulation. It'll be another input into the regulations as we go forward. But also in terms of the evaluation, it's looking at how you control for things like demographics, leak,